Listen, this is author, record artist, life coach, Miss Michelle Boulden-Hammond. She's all the way from the state of Maryland. Listen, she's a 2019-2021 ACHI Magazine Award recipient, health and wellness. Listen, radio personality of the year. She's also a trained and certified addictions counselor and master of science. Listen, y'all, in clinical mental health. And y'all, she is the professor for Holistic Professionals of Color University, none other than Professor Michelle Boulden-Hammond. So good to see you tonight. Good to see you.
I'm telling you, you got me excited back here in this background. I'm like, I want to just bust through. I'm excited for you because I know God will do it. He will never fail us.
Yes.
He will never lead us. He'll lead us in the right way. And one thing I would like to say, thank you so much, Nathan and Jaleesa and the rest of the team for having this conversation. You advocate. That's all I want you to do is advocate for mental health. And I'm so glad that you came upon to ask me again. And I said, yes.
So grateful to have you. Listen, and we're just excited, and we definitely want to get into an awesome conversation tonight concerning mental health. And y'all, listen, like I said to you before, this is a great conversation. She's been with us before, and we're just excited to have her back again. And so we're just going to open up the conversation at any moment, y'all that are on stage and those in the comments. Even if you have questions, I know she hasn't really shared and got deep in yet, but she's going to get there. If y'all have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask live on the radio so she can definitely answer. But we want to get the conversation started with you, Professor. Let's just talk about it. And again, let's just have a living room conversation. Can we just talk about the importance of mental health? Can you open it up, that conversation for us? The importance of mental health.
So the importance is because let's look at why. Because mental health takes all areas of our body. One, it influences how we think, how we feel, and how we're going to act. So why we need to have good mental health is because it will help us when challenges come. We didn't say they won't come, but it's how you think, act, and feel in those emotions.
Wow. Y'all heard that? Anybody want to chime in on that on our stage? All right. So she talked about
Don't be scared. We're
talking about the importance, y'all, the importance here of mental health. Listen, let's also talk about the identification, because that some people, we have pride. There's a lot of pride going on. I understand that. And some people don't want to, make that step out. But, what encouragement would you give for those to what do people do to identify? I want to talk about the identifying, what happens when people say, I may need to, really look into, checking in on myself, and maybe I need to go see a therapist, and that identification process. I realize a lot of people struggle with that. They don't know what to do, and to know that it's okay to get help. Like, what is your experience with it, and what is your advice for somebody that's in that question stage?
So one of the things is knowing to identify. You got to know what some of the symptoms are. Maybe, and then it may be that you don't think you have the symptoms, but it's with others, like we say, to bring out advocacy and awareness. So, for instance, there are certain things that happen. Your body, if you know anything about your body, you. If you're having persistent types of sadness, any type of, you feeling guilty about something, you just can't shake this thing, right? And then one of the changes is maybe your eating or your sleeping patterns are messed up. And now a lot of people can't sleep, right? Mm-hmm. We're hearing a lot of people having problems with sleep. Withdrawal from things that you used to like. If I'm this happily, bubbly person, and then all of a sudden, even if you have that response, that partner, that family member, if you see that they're not constantly doing the things that they enjoy, then it may be something going on.
Wow.
Or if there's increase in using substances, for instance, using substances more heavily and trying to ease, because again, that might be something that you're trying to deal with in another way. Or just take a look, for instance, you could turn on the news and see something that can trigger you, that can make you have an impact on life change. Any type of life change that hasn't been something that has taken you out of the realm, which is, for instance, death. You may, God forbid, if this happens, maybe some type of assault to you. I mean, just generally things like that. Those can be some signs and symptoms that you may need to check. Now, far as the stigma, I'm gonna just say, as a person who counsels and do other things with other people, I have a counselor. Now, I'm telling you straight up, it's okay for me to have a counselor. It's okay. And I know that's been a stigma that we have carried within our community. We're seeing a little bit more, but it's not where it needs to be, because our community has had a lot of trauma. And that goes back way from generation to generation. That's a whole nother topic. When we're talking about generational trauma.
Wow.
So if I could, Professor, why do you think mental health gets a bad stigma in our community? We know that there is mental health, but then if you divide it, there's mental wellness and then there's mental illness. And I think when we hear the term mental health, we immediately go mental illness or mental problem opposed to mental wellness. And why do you think that is?
That's because that's just been in our generation. Because I'm going to be honest, and if people can share in the comment, I asked this question when I did this last month. How many of us have been told what stays in the home, and we knowing that things have not been correct in the home, but we're scared to say so. You know, I do this all the time when I do these assessments to figure out when people come in for counseling or whatever. You know, one of those questions is all about, have you had any trauma in your house, or have you witnessed it? Then they'll say, oh yeah, well, how was it handled? We've been handled wrong. And it's because, again, that generational thing. Or and trust me, I'm a person of faith, woman who believes in God. But that's another thing. We can take it to the church, but then we tell somebody who's suicidal, pray over it. I'm not saying, now don't get me wrong. Let me put this disclaimer. I am a person of faith, and I know that he can do things. Because I just talked about this last month, and a young lady came to tell me, well, you feel like you bashing the church. No, I'm just not bashing the church. I'm saying, are we putting things in perspective for the church as we're supposed to be our brothers or sisters?
I have a question.
Yes.
So what would be some exercises you could give to somebody that's having like a mental breakdown or like an anxiety attack or something like that? Like, what's some day-to-day exercises you can give to them when they're having like a moment and there's nobody around, they can't get in touch with somebody or talk to somebody maybe at that moment? Like, what exercises would you give them?
So for people who deal with anxiety, there's also something that we call box breathing. So with box breathing, it's just focusing on a spot, closing your eyes, getting yourself recentered, and breathe. Again, as you said, if there's no one around, there should be, because everybody now has a cell phone. And that's some numbers I was going to give out later too. Even in New Jersey, I did some research for you guys in New Jersey this time to give you certain places. But 988 is something national for crisis that you can call.
Great. Just, before somebody else jumps in, I just want to kind of fire away, because you mentioned the Black community, and then you kind of tied in church. So it brings me to my next question. A lot of times we're taught in church to pray about it, and a lot of times we have conversations with ourselves. It comes out in our meditation, or it comes out in our prayer life. Is it something wrong with the term Jesus and therapy? Let's talk about that. Jesus and therapy.
There's nothing wrong with it, because here it is. You have biblical counselors, but biblical counselors handle your soul care, right? They come from you with scriptures. But then you have the clinical, who can medically train you. Someone like myself, been trained, who can actually give you the techniques. Because again, You giving me the technique on the biblical side to pray about it. Yeah, some things come by fasting and praying, but some things can't be released unless we really find out medically if there's something wrong and being discovered behind that.
How about that? I'm just
and
saying.
there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's where we have to, and I'm not saying that I'm a firm believer. I know what he can do, but I also know that he has placed people here with the skills.
Yes.
To clinically and professionally get you the help that you need.
Yes. Definitely agree. I see a few people in the comment section. I'm just going to acknowledge a few questions, and we see you, so we're going to get to you. So keep it locked. And those that have some questions, again, if you haven't already liked this show tonight, whether it's YouTube and Facebook and our social media, we're also on Instagram. I see some Instagram folk that are tuning in. So good to see y'all tonight. That's on Instagram that are watching us live. But Miss Donna Parrish, she has a question, and I see also Tiffany and John have some comments.
I love Donna's question.
And I'm going to read it out loud.
Donna's question, because I actually want to address that. I definitely want to address that.
And I'm going to read it out loud because we have a few people that are listening to us at our actual radio station at soundgospelradio.com. And so Miss Donna, she asked a question: how do you help people recognize and deal with trauma to assist in promoting mental health and wellness? Go ahead.
That's a 3-point question. How do you help people recognize? 1, there is an assessment that we all should take, because I give it to my clients all the time. A lot of people don't understand, and I don't know if anybody have heard of the ACEs. I think last year I brought this up, but we needed to go in more depth with that. The ACE is a study that was conducted. It basically was for children. It was started out in 1979-ish, where these professors came about childhood obesity, but come to find out, these 10 questions came up, and it's called Adverse Childhood Experiences, which is called the ACE study. That is one way to recognize if you're somebody who has had past traumas. And 9 times out of 10, you may have. But the question is, if it's 4 or over, if you've been, and I will give you a scenario. I am a person who had all 10. I had someone, abuse. I saw it, I seen it, whatever. I had 10. I'm gonna just say, go research the ACE study and take the test. Take the test, and then you will be able to recognize if you're someone who had trauma. Then once you figure that out, seek a professional to help you deal with it, because again, sometimes it's suppressed. I have one friend of mine who says, I block things out from my childhood. Now, we 50 some years old now. Now she's dealing with stuff because things have happened now. And now as she's increased in a couple of years, she wanted to forget. But now it's all suppressing. So now she has to deal with a therapist. Wow. And then how do we promote it? Again, advocacy, do what you can do to get the information, research the information, have events like, again, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Yes. Then we come up in July, where it's African American Mental Health Month. It's different things like that you can do and offer, because every state has a behavioral health system. You don't have that resource, check in with them to get the resource. And I knew for New Jersey, there you do have a division of mental health and addictions. And there's the numbers. I will give those out too.
Okay. Definitely look for that. And so one of our great listeners all the way from Louisville, Kentucky, she agreed with you. She said, I know what prayer can do, but I believe in therapy too. I like the way that rhymes.
Yeah.
I know what prayer can do, but I believe in therapy too. So
girls, you better hashtag that. I know what prayer can do. You better hashtag that one. You better put a patent on that, Miss Tiffany.
Yes. And John Williams, good to see you again. I believe this is a question. What are the results of accepting the idea of mental illness? Larry, I see you, and I want to get to your comment in just a moment. But John Williams said, what are the results of accepting the idea of mental illness?
Well-being, overall well-being for your mind, your body, and soul, because all of that is connected. If the mind ain't right, how you going to obtain to live physically? Because again, those things are manifest more into other illnesses. And if we don't deal with it, you're going to get sicker.
Wow.
And then everybody else around you gonna be affected by the traumas of you not wanting to get the help.
Wow. We have a comment here from Larry. Is somebody about to say something on stage?
I was, but go ahead.
Go ahead, Letitia. No, we'll get back. Larry, get back to you. Go ahead, Tish.
I was going to ask, when we speak about trauma, I think the first thought that everyone goes to is like, mental or physical abuse. But there are other categories of trauma. Are those categories of trauma handled differently from those who have experienced some type of abuse?
Trauma is trauma. You still have to deal with it. Go get the trauma-informed care that you need. And there are people who are specialized. Because that goes back to, we have therapists who specializes in trauma-informed care. So make sure that when you're trying to address these, the special type of trauma that you need, you get the trauma-informed care.
Listen, we're having a great conversation tonight. And Larry, I'm going to get back to you in just a moment. But I just want everybody to know that we have here author, recording artist, and life coach, Professor Michelle Boulden-Hammond. And listen, y'all, even though we're in Jersey, our Sound Gospel Radio is based in Jersey. We have people on stage all over the place. And New York is in the house. Ohio's in the house. Maryland is in the house. Praise God. And listen, y'all, this is a trained, clinical, master's degree level professor. And so she has great experience, and we're so happy to have her here tonight because this is some information that we do need to be aware of. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Even if you listen to us at Sound Gospel Radio, we do have our phone number, 609-316-2766, where you can leave a message if we're unable to answer. We're checking right now, info@soundgospelradio.com. You can leave us an email or leave us a phone message, and we'll do our best to get it. If you do it right now, we can get it before the end of the show. But Larry Prince, he said something here. He said, in church, you'll have pastors say, I gave wise counsel, because they're not counselors. He says, so we need to get help and get the help that is necessary. There's no excuse. So I'll look at it from the case of, if I read it correctly, that many times I guess certain people say that the pastors are saying that they are the wise counsel. Did I read that correctly?
That's where I'm. Yeah. Can you explain that a little bit?
I think the way I'm saying, and Larry, if you're still there, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe he was saying in church, you have the pastor that say, I give the wise counsel. He said, but they're not counselors. So we need to get, I see the revelation, glory to God. So we need to get the help. So I think what he was saying is, probably in his experience and what he has seen, is that you have some churches and some pastors that tell you, don't get any type of help. Don't talk to any type of therapist. I am all the counsel that you need as the man or woman of God. And you know what? It's Sound Gospel Radio. How do you feel about that, Professor?
Do you really? Yes. Woe to them. And are you really the brothers or sisters keeper? Are you really attending over your flock? Because what if that flock who's telling you that I'm in this depressive state, and then one Sunday, okay, we just seen it through the media, social media, a couple weeks ago, a young man come into the church with a gun. So he's addressed this to you, but let's see, he come in there and spray up the whole church, then woe to you, because you're saying you were the only wise counsel, but you wasn't clinical counsel, because he was reaching out to you then. And I think, Nathan, we had talked about this last week. One of the things that I would say tonight, if there's anybody out there, as we saying we are the church, we get it. I get it. You're not clinicals, but it doesn't hurt to have 988 sitting out somewhere, because you have pastors who's going committing suicide. Am I the only one saying that?
No, we've seen it. We've heard it.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
Major people.
So true.
The pastors can't even handle it because it's a lot going on. We don't know what's going on. Once those go leave from service, whatever, we don't know what's going on. But I asked this question last month again when I was in an arena. And let me be DEI, diverse, inclusive, equity, and inclusion with this. Even for those who may be scrolling by, who may have another form of worship, wherever. But just to make sure, I asked the question, how many people where your place of worship has specific mental health information, either in the foyer, the portal, or in their programs or anything? No one in that arena had anything. But the good thing about that, I addressed that. And then from that, a couple people came up. Can you please tell me how can I do this? See, it's all about making the change. Yeah. It's all about making the change. I say you can put on that program when we want to have that super salad sandwich sale, or you can put on when it's a winter chicken dinner. But why we don't have something that someone can take home with them just in case I can't reach past them?
Yeah, that's the truth. And I like what Tiffany Collier said. She said also folk need to admit that there is a problem and they've experienced past trauma. We can't fix what we won't face. We can't conquer what we won't confront.
That's it.
Go ahead, Tiffany. Where you at, Tiffany? Do I need to send you the link to come on stage? If you want to, we can make that happen. All you gotta do is send me a message, Tiffany. I will bring you right up on stage. All right, sis. You already know the deal. All right. Hamid, now I ain't gonna let you comment. You need to say what you wrote. Go ahead. Don't be commenting.
Hamid up there. I see him shaking his head.
Listen. I'm on fire from what Tiffany said. But to the point of the brother that spoke earlier and to what the professor said, one thing I do understand is that most churches are not going to grow beyond their pastor's fears. Ask Moses. We look at Moses. Moses didn't make it in because he didn't grieve his sister properly. His sister died. Miriam died. And now the people are pushing him to get back into position. And now he does something that God doesn't call him to do. God said, speak to the rock. Moses hits the rock. And now he misses out on the promised land. So the fear of not really dealing with what's inside can create an external problem, and you can miss out on the blessing that God has prepared. You can work years. Oh God, you can work years for something and never really make it there because you didn't do it the right way, or you didn't go through the right grieving process, or you didn't go to the right counselor for help. Yes, as pastors, we are savvy in some areas, but you got to be honest, we're not savvy in all areas. And that's where you have a cohesive group or a collaborative group that if I know that I can't do it, let me refer out. Let me get that person, because as a pastor, I need to be able to care for that soul. Let me get that person to the right person that can really deal with them. I'll pray for them spiritually, but yeah, there's some things mentally that I may not be able to handle. I need to be able to refer them out. So yeah.
So, I have a question I want to ask in just a moment. But just to let you know, Professor, Miss Tiffany here, she said, well, her church has a whole professional mental health ministry.
Praise God.
It's thank God. So it's nice to hear that. Yes, we salute your church, Tiffany, and she's driving at the time. I see you too. We want you to be safe. I know probably every time you get a break, you probably can type in there. So, but good. Thank you for being a part of this great conversation. So with that being said, so what is the difference between, I guess, the mentor, the counselor, the therapist, the psychiatrist, and there's probably some other names in between that I probably have missed. But what's the difference?
Okay, so far as a counselor, most time the counselors have the bachelor's degree, maybe, and they offer the guidance and support to a person, the everyday issues, like maybe, I need to find a job or something. If you have like some of the clients I have, might find a job. I just reroute them with different types of levels of what they do for their care to help them with their situation. So when we go to therapists, most therapists have a master's level, maybe, and they have trained techniques because there's certain types of techniques of different therapies that you can use, like cognitive behavior therapy. It's a whole lot of them. There's different needs, and you're more trained and you skilled. Like you said, more time, that person might have trauma-informed care. Then we go to the psychiatry. Mostly the psychiatrist is the one who can do a thorough check and medicate. That's the difference. And then now we have a realm of nurse practitioners who actually do like the they can do medication and stuff as well. And they do more, psychiatry do more with severe. We're talking like schizophrenia, things like that. So.
Okay. Listen, y'all, I'm enjoying this conversation. We still got a little bit more time, and there's a question that somebody just asked on YouTube, none other than the one and only, I told him the other night, the golden voice, Corey Warren. He just asked a question that we're about to dive into. But again, y'all, you are more than welcome to ask these questions. Don't wait until after the show and email us because you're watching live. And listen, ask now. If you need to ask anonymous, send us an email, send a message to 609-316-2766, and we'll try to get that out there for you. But listen, Corey Warren asked a question. He said, question, do you think that 2020 or COVID exposed what the church refused or was afraid to address when it comes to mental health? Oh my God. Now listen, y'all, I'm not knocking Professor here. I'm not knocking Professor because I want to hear what she got to say. But if y'all have some input on this too on stage, we want to hear from y'all as well. But let Professor talk first. Go ahead, Professor.
So I exactly. Because 2020 was an exposure time. And it's still exposing. More exposure is going to come out. We seeing it all the time now. More, who we thought was the elite of the faith of the faith, and you said it fall, but we know that that's going to come. Am I right, Pastor? Am I preaching right now? We know that's going to come because it don't put no trust in no man. But I will also say is that these signs of more mental illness is coming from what happened in COVID, because a lot, again, people, and this may be something I'm going to do some more research on, which, and I'm thinking about it. I call it COVID brain, the after effects of COVID brain, because if you notice, mental illness is really rapid. People are just doing off the wall stuff, no reason why or anything. Really, I'm just going to say, I do believe that has a whole impact, because why? We were told we couldn't go places. We had stress in the home because people was worrying about their jobs. A lot of people lost their jobs. Yes. 2, you had to rearrange families. Family members lost. We didn't know what was going on. Trauma. All those emotions that haven't been dealt with being sheltered up. Couldn't go to places. You couldn't even go to the doctor if you needed.
Yeah, true.
So we still dealing with the post of that, and it's mentally affecting people.
Mentally affected. I heard someone say, I think it was one of our shows we had before, about how the news and social media specifically use certain jargon that really did kind of mess us up mentally when it came to the distancing. I forget do you remember what that one person said? I can't remember. Instead of social distancing, I think they used a certain word that made the whole, interacting with somebody even worse than before. And I can't remember the moment that I should have been prepared for. But listen, you're hitting it on the nose. Oh my goodness, you're hitting on the nose. Somebody else wanted to say something before. If I'm about to give back to the stage, y'all, again, this is a great conversation we're having. Pastor Sherman, so good to see you from Virginia. Good to see you tonight, sir. Good to see you tonight. Good to see you tonight. All right, who else was going to say something concerning that? Go ahead, Camille. Go ahead.
I just have a question. What advice would you give to the loved one who wants to support their own loved one who maybe is going through mental health issues? Because I find that in my own journey, support is kind of like they don't know how to help. And so they say certain things like, just sleep it off. Like what? Like sleep? Like, okay. What advice would you give that would be helpful and beneficial to their loved one going through their mental health journey?
Always let them be aware that they're not alone. Because again, you got to think about, for instance, some of our family members will not admit that there's a problem, but we know there's a problem. And we just need to, I'm not saying wait till it gets really you need to have that conversation. Look, we want to be a healthy family unit. Now, I know I'm going to love you through sickness, through health, till death do us part, or what, however the family dynamic is. Because again, not everybody's in the home in the family, neither these days. But I'm here to support you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to help you. and I'm going to do what's necessary. I'm here to guide your hand. If you need me to go with you, this is what we're going to do. You just got to be that support system. And then some of them are not even ready because they have to make that, change. They want to have that change that I need to get better. But and I know it can be tough. Trust me, I'm a therapist. I have family members that I know, God knows, that it's a hard struggle. But just hold on. Don't lose hope. That's where we need to pray, but we also know that there's guidance to get them the help that they need.
That is so true. That is so true.
Question.
Go ahead.
So what would your advice be to somebody that has tried to help somebody, but you couldn't get through to them and they lost their battle to mental health? Like, what advice would you give to that person when they thought they did all that they could do to help that person, and now they're battling with something because they felt like they couldn't help that person and they lost that person to that battle? Like, what advice would you give to them? So
grief, you're going to need counseling yourself to release what you have done, and don't feel guilty about it because you did. I could, let me tell you this. I work in addictions. I will just say, I see it often where we can send Johnny to way to Miami and spend $30,000. Get away, Johnny comes back. That crowd will be waiting for Johnny. You done all you done. You done spent all your money. You did this, you did that. Johnny goes out, get that one hit, and it kills him. You're gonna feel guilty because you feel as though you weren't there. Just know that you did what you had to do because it still took Johnny to take care of what he needed to take care of.
Wow, y'all. Listen, y'all, don't forget this is radio. So I know it's a touchy subject and it's quiet, but we got to keep it going. So y'all need to unmute yourselves and hop right in. Go ahead.
I did want to ask something because a lot of times when we think about mental health, as Pastor Hartme was saying, you think automatically to illness or, people say, oh, I don't need help. There's nothing wrong with me. When you think about someone saying you need to go to therapy, does everyone need therapy?
Ooh, that's up to the individual to be it. And again, that goes to, let's address this. Everybody wants to be well.
That's the truth. That's true.
Everybody wants to be well.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to the question when you ask, what is mental health? Remember, it's how I feel, how I think, and how I act. Think, feel, and act.
Love that.
So what are you acting? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? That's why I asked that question before we got on. How have you guys been feeling mentally?
Yes, you did.
I asked you guys, how you been feeling? People don't ask that. They're like, oh, how you doing?
Yes.
No. How are you feeling mentally?
Yeah.
You addressing it.
Wow.
It's a loaded question. When you think of that, how everyone gets like kind of stumped. Like, I don't know how I'm feeling mentally, because you just go through the motions. So you don't really stop to think about how you're processing things. I think, for a long time I was dealing with grief in the wrong way when my father died, because you think I have to be strong. So then you suppress your emotions because not showing emotion shows your strength. And that wasn't the right way to, handle it. So I started having like mental breakdowns, like, sporadically, squirrel run across the street, I'm crying, because I wasn't dealing with, the grief as it was coming, whether it was anger, whatever stage it was that I was facing. I was like, I gotta be strong. And you don't handle it. So it's like, how do you, where do you even start to answer a question like that? If someone doesn't know where do you even start?
Again, it's how you think, how you feel, journaling. If you don't want to tell it to nobody else, I will tell you to address that question, how you, at the end of your day. Tonight, after you get off this show tonight, anybody who's watching this audience tonight, because that's where I have this book. You got to ask yourself that day. And sometimes we don't want to talk to people, but journaling helps. That's another technique, because I think it was you was asking about the techniques or what type of techniques. Journaling is a good thing. As Habakkuk 2:4 said, write the vision and make it plain. Well,
Wow.
my vision is I want to be well,
Yes.
holistically well. When I'm talking about holistically well, woo, shit up, oh shit, God. I want to be
That's
holistically
it.
well,
That's
mind, body, and soul.
it. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I feel God on
That's
this line.
what
I
you
feel
want
it. I
to
feel it.
be. When Jesus asked, "Do you want to be made whole?" I want to be holistically well in all of my well-being.
Lord God. Listen,
Before then, because I love
right.
what I love about Minister Brian George, and this is why he's on our executive board. He's a very patient man. Such a patient man.
Yes, he is.
He had a question, and I can't say what he said in the back chat, but go ahead, Brian.
No, I didn't have a question as much as I just wanted to kind of tag in on a point.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the word holistically, and that is crucial. Jesus didn't ask him. He didn't ask him, "Do you want to be healed?" He didn't ask him, "Do you want me to heal your broken leg or your ill body?" He asked him if he wanted to go above and beyond the solution to that surface level issue. And I want to tag back to Corey's question where he was talking about the church refused or was afraid to address dealing with mental health. Some of the cause in mental health, I'm going to go there. It was in the church. And I'm not saying that to say that the church is bad. And I'm not bashing the church because I love the church. I love the bride of Christ. And we are to be in the bride, and the church has the rightful place. It is a spiritual hospital for the people of God. And I go there every Sunday faithfully, every Wednesday to get all my treatments. But at the same time, dealing with church means dealing with people.
Yeah.
And sometimes dealing with people, you have your good times and your bad times. You have the steady interactions and you have the rough interactions. And I have to say, from a personal experience, when COVID came, I found peace.
You ain't lying, brother. Go ahead and talk to that.
And there's no shot at anybody's church, no shot at a pastor, preacher, member, etc., etc. But when COVID came, I experienced a relief that I had not felt in a very long time. Wow. And it brings a great urgency to really, come on, Brian, get your words, to really re-examine ourselves and find out where the source of our stress is coming from.
Right.
And we can't say, being children of God, we cannot say that it's the devil's fault and we look out at the people of the world. Because a lot of the distinction that's going on is the church is not exempt. It's people in general. And COVID allowed us to really re-examine some of our ministries and how we are managing them. And just let's go deeper than ministries. COVID allowed us to see how we are as people.
Wow, say that.
Yeah.
Because the ministry just re-examine ourselves as people and see if we're really walking in our holistic self. Because some of our attitudes, some of our ways and our interactions are, and I don't want to use the word freely, but it's a source of toxicity. It's a poison. And so COVID allowed us to re-examine that. That's my point.
Oh my goodness. Because we're dealing with different personalities. I say it often that I look back and thank God that I worked in behavioral health for the years that I worked in that field, because it helped me deal with ministry, helped me deal with people, because the more I've got older, the more I learned that I'm dealing with different personalities. Mm-hmm. And I know this is another subject for another day, because I ain't trying to, it's funny how it gets this good and then we get closer to the end. Because too, in the church world, we have created such a manipulative society a world where, your boss can bring things into order and into command, but let someone do it in church, whether they're a choir director, organist, whatever. You got a problem, you want to manipulate. I'm so hurt, I can't believe. I mean, just so many different things. Board meetings, church, church committees. I mean, we deal with a lot of, manipulation, and that breeds on this psychological state of people, and then we just see ugly, mean old saints. Can I say it like that? So Brian, you Brian. Oh God,
I just have to come back and say I'm not bashing anybody. It's a first-hand realization.
It is. Yes, I heard you.
It is a first-hand realization, and we have to really re-examine the way that we treat our brother and our sister. Operate in a holistic manner.
Yes.
So I appreciate that, Professor.
That is so true.
You're so welcome. Thank you for saying what you said, because that's something that we will have another conversation in too, because how we say the word holistically, automatically, I'm not bashing the church neither. They think that that's witchcraft or anything else. Now, as I think Ashley, you had asked about some tools or resources that I use. Well, I know for like anxiety, I use therapeutic sound bowls. When I have people come in, they wrapped up or whatever else, but I use it as a therapeutic for mine, because again, our bodies are not 80% water. Well, what happens is therapeutically, sound is a frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in this earth has a frequency.
Yes.
And it's not witchcraft for to say that people do sound bowl practices and it's witchcraft. Well, I know how I have a spirit of a person who comes in who has anxiety, where I just do those frequency sounds and the different frequencies because I'm trained to use different types of frequencies for different type of situations. How that releases the calm, because that is a mind mood altering thing that helps to bring the calmness.
And see, and the reason why y'all, because I know people probably looking like, oh, what does Elder got to say about that? That's Sound Gospel Radio, music. Even just think about how certain songs, because I'm piggyback with this frequency and this sound. My own pastor, shout out to Pastor Willie L. Johnson, did a whole series about sound and the healing in sound and frequencies, how certain frequencies, and research it, y'all Google it. We Google everything else now, y'all. So Google it about how sound has healed, and just music alone. Think about how certain music brings certain moods. How certain music, when you want to relax, you listen to certain mellow tones. Even, I got to show up this, I got to do a little plug. Even at Sound Gospel Radio, you tune in at 12 midnight, from 12 midnight to about 6 a.m. Listen to the music. It's music that you can listen to all night. We don't play all the upbeat, hand clapping, shouting, tongue talking music in the middle of the night because you're trying to sleep. And many times you're trying to worship and you want to pray. We purposely play that because it leaves a certain sound, and there's a frequency that just soothes and calms. And to know that this is actually done in a therapeutic way, that I know many times people are like, I don't know about that, but it is a healing agent. Again, you ain't conjuring up spirits, you ain't saying chants and all that. It's a process, the same way going through a therapist. It's a process that you go through for healing, for the healing's sake. So I just wanted to piggyback with you, Professor.
When you go to the spa and you get a facial,
say it again.
I go monthly.
Say it again.
You go to you don't walk into the spa and they're playing heavy metal. Like the music is it is like, and it's not even music or anything like that. It's not
I got you. Watch. Go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
It's very subtle, it's getting you in the mode to relax and unwind and just forget about everything that's going on outside, and even the lighting is dim, it's not really bright lighting, and the estheticians, they even speak in a yeah, there it is, hand and stone. Hand and Stone. That is the soundtrack of Hand and Stone. But they even speak softly. Like they don't even speak in full voice. So, you know, you have to those types of things are, you know, setting the atmosphere for relaxation. And I was just telling Nathan, when we had our Women's History Month, we had a conference and we had a mental health therapist to come in, and she just had to sit down for a minute, and she just played, you know, that kind of music, like just music. And she said, just sit down, close your eyes, and just be. And just sit in that moment. And sitting there for a minute and listening to that music, I don't know why that's so emotional, but it was just like, you know, feeling all of the emotions come to the forefront, you know. It's something how the body knows.
It responds.
You know, it responds.
That's the respondents. That's the respondents of the frequency moving through, because probably, and I wasn't there, but I guarantee you had a lot going on. Right?
Yeah. Always got a lot
so
going on.
They had a lot going on. And then what I would say to the audience, you know, like you said, we got so much love. The frequency of love, which is 528, needs to be played in the church, because that's the frequency to bring more love. I mean, it's non-essential frequencies, but that 4 what you just said, that's why those emotions just came up. So I'm just saying,
because you know what, I don't know if you said it already. If you did, I apologize. But we were talking about it that in our private conversation last week about David, and then what you just said, Letitia, about David.
Yes,
we were just talking about that. If you want to reiterate that real quick, go ahead.
I was saying, I wonder what. You're talking about. Go ahead.
You know, when someone was telling me, I have retreats every year, and I do these retreats for mind, body, and soul. Right? I had a friend of mine tell me that she said, you know, I invited this lady to the thing, but she said, oh no, I'm not coming to that because she deals with the sound bowls and stuff. I said, well, honey, I always have an educational stress for everyone to tell them. So because I am a biblical person, I will always tell them that, well, didn't the walls of Jericho come down by sound? Can I get an amen in corner? I need an amen corner right now.
Amen.
That's the word.
Was it not the spirit that God gave Saul, that David used the lyre? We say harp, but it was a lyre. That once he played, what happened to that spirit?
Spirit left.
Spirit left.
It was
sound.
That's it, sound.
Frequency.
I just want to just acknowledge some things. I know I'm funny about going over time, but this is something we do need to talk about. And I try to keep within my time. For those that are still here, y'all are still here watching and paying attention. I do want to acknowledge Joe West, because he did talk about he said mental disorder really sucks, and PTSD and ADHD. And he said that, you know, he was going through such a rough time, and he met a lady who helped him and provided him with some treatments to get him through. And he said he can feel much better and focus, and, you know, the creative addiction is gone. So again, he found a route that was able to help him. Also, Tiffany Collier said, can someone address the need for us to get our mental health together before it affects our physical health? Many of us are sick because of unmanaged stress. Unmanaged stress. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. You want to say something, Professor, real quick about that?
I just want to say, when we talk about holistic health, that's where it comes into. That's the mind, body, spirit thing, you know, and it's not nothing wiki or, you know, it's witchcraft. Because if we don't deal with the stress, it will go in other forms. We'll have heart issues. I will tell us, people of color, we are blood-borne people. So everything that happens to us will be an issue of the blood.
Wow. Miss Donna Parrish, she said, thank you for another great session. At work, she said, I deal with people with mental health issues. I use information from these sessions like this, other training, and much prayer to assist people by the grace of God. Y'all hear that? This is why we're here. Building hope, transforming lives, 24/7, Sound Gospel Radio. This is why we have Sound Gospel Radio, because we're doing stuff like this. These conversations are meant for you to take them and go to work with them, go to school in your community to help folk out. That's what we do. That's what we do. And I see Tiffany was agreeing about the spa. She said her sister, and they go to the spa for the massages. Listen, y'all going on Saturday? Oh, y'all went on Saturday. All right. I see it, Tiffany. All right, let me read this real quick. John Williams said, I hope this makes sense, and we hope it makes sense as we read it. It says to determine if psychological counseling is successful depends on how success is defined. If success is defined just as testimonies of improvement, then yes. But how those testimonies came about may be in question. They may be the result of assuming that psychological counseling or psychotherapy caused the improvement. So, is psychological counseling successful? Professor?
So what I would say, again, it determines in the well-being. That's where you have the trained individual. That's why I say if it's something dealing with trauma, we want to work with that. If there's something that needs medication, it needs medication. I'm not an anti-medication. Believe me, if you need the counseling that you need, and I do believe I see successes. I do hear success story. You have some people who can come out of facilities and be better in their well-being due to them being in settings that they needed to get the help. So I'm a person that would say yes.
There you have it, y'all. Another great conversation. Again, I know you enjoyed it, and we appreciate you. You know what I realized too? If you enjoy Sound Gospel Radio, especially those that are on Facebook, if you don't have a Facebook, get on Facebook. All because I realized, we don't have any reviews on our Facebook page. We don't have any reviews on our Facebook page. If you could take out a time to review Sound Gospel Radio, listen, some people only watch us on Facebook and YouTube, but we are an actual, listen, not just a radio station, but we are a Stellar Award nominated station, y'all. But listen, we are Stellar Award nominated because we play music 24/7. All you got to do is go to Sound. I moved myself away. I came back. Praise the Lord. All you got to do is go to soundgospelradio.com, and that's where you can listen to music 24/7. You can listen to the shows 24/7. I have a show and I do 6 a.m. prayer Mondays and Thursdays. And those that tuned in this morning, y'all know I was cutting up talking about Joseph. Oh, I was cutting up this morning, y'all. Y'all missed out on some fun times. But we have great times here at Sound Gospel Radio. And Tiffany, you said it best. Sound. The healing sound. Gospel Radio. Professor, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate you. This is not your first time here. And guess what? You're going to be back again and again because we definitely appreciate this conversation. You answer with such clarity and such ease and just, you just make talking to you. Your therapist. You make it so easy to talk to you. Praise the Lord. But anyway, y'all, listen, great conversation. And thank you. This is why I love our staff here at Sound Gospel Radio. Your book, Professor, your book. She said you wanted to give away a book?
Yes.
And we're sorry that the clarity is not going there, but explain the book to us so people can hear about the book before we go.
So we talked about, the book is called Reset, Renewal, Reflection, a 52-week purpose adventure. Because again, we want to understand our mental health. Anything worth having takes time. So it could take time for a year. So what'll happen with this, you'll do a 5-minute gratitude reflection. But what I will ask you, as I said earlier tonight, the tidbit that I gave away was a weekly mental health check-in. How are you feeling today? How can you improve your mental health? So one person, whoever wins this, make sure I get their information. And
so what we can do is, if you're interested in the book, you can send us a DM
and it is on Amazon.
It is on Amazon as well. And we'll try to get another copy of it so we can take it. She'll probably send us a picture so we can post it. Send us a DM, send us an inbox or email us at info@soundgospelradio.com. And then we could do a drawing for that too. I love the spinner wheel. And we can see who wins the book. All right, y'all. Listen,
Nathan, it's something that I had to tag back. Look, that just made me catch back with Letitia. When you said something about we gotta be super, right? One of my therapist friends is Omika Jackson, and this is something that I want us to say because we have to be that super person, right? We have to be that Superman or Superwoman. Mostly for females, you're the single mom in the house, you're wearing this cape to be that Superwoman. But look at that cape sometimes as being loose to your neck.
Y'all hear it? Y'all heard it. And she said it. Ma'am. Y'all heard it. She said it right here on Sound Gospel Radio. Now, hold on. Listen, this is how we know we're having a good time. Because, y'all don't even worry about us going over time. I try to be a stickler because I want y'all to come back next week, okay? All right. So listen, John Williams said thank you. He said apparently needed information. I agree with you. You are so welcome. What you say, Miss Donna? Please post the book information on Sound Gospel Radio page. Thank you in advance. We got you, Miss Donna. We got you. We'll make sure. I can hear her saying it, y'all. We'll make sure we get it together, and so we can, so you can be a part of it. Those that are on stage, please stay on stage for our after chat. But listen, y'all, those that are watching us, those that are listening to us, another great time here at Sound Gospel Radio. And I need you to know we're building hope. We're transferring lives 24/7. Sound Gospel Radio.
Building hope. Transforming lives. 24/7. Sound Gospel Radio.